This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Honored to have Leslie Martinich here joining us. She's our motivational speaker at Competitive Focus, based out of beautiful Westlake Hills, Texas. We're going to talk today about, obviously, all she does here as a boutique advisory firm offering consulting, research, training, executive education to so many different clients around the world. Welcome to the show today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Jill.
Well, pleasure having you here, and I hope it's beautiful weather for you in Texas right
It,
now.
it is actually quite lovely today.
Great. Just start off with a little overview of what competitive focus is, and then we'll stop. We're going to dive into your background. I mean, you have a lot of accolades, credentials. I want to make sure we learn you and why you started this company. So just tell us a little quick overview.
So I started this company in order to help rectify a problem that I saw in tech. And the problem was that leaders are promoted to their position based on their technical skills, but they don't have the leadership skills. And I believe that to be competitive, you really need to have good leadership skills to lead the team to be more productive. I do research in innovation, which I've had the wonderful good fortune to be part of on a couple amazing projects that I've worked on in my career, and do research on that. And also I give keynotes all around the world, except Antarctica. But
Wow.
every other continent, I've been there, done that, and had wonderful opportunities to work with people from every continent. And I just love that. I'm
Amazing.
headed back to North Africa in a few months, which, my God, the Mediterranean Sea is so beautiful. And I got to ride a horse on the Mediterranean last time I was there. So just fun stuff traveling
Oh
around.
my gosh. All right. First, you got to give me your background. Where are you from? Tell me, about your early childhood life and how you discovered this type of business. So give me a little bit of the backstory if you don't mind.
Okay, I was actually born in Hollywood and grew up in the San Fernando Valley. I would say I'm not an OG, but I'm an OVG, original
Uh-huh.
Valley Girl, before Valley Girls were Valley Girls. And I grew up there. I went to school at UC San Diego, and then I went to school at the University of Texas at Austin. And I have a master's in philosophy and a master's in computer science.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. And who
Yeah.
inspired you into this type of career? Who was your mentor?
Well, I didn't ever have any mentors.
Okay.
When I was growing up, it was in the 50s in the San Fernando Valley, and Ozzie and Harriet were the standard family. So my plan was to get married and have three children and be a wife and mother. And I did that. I got check, got that one checked off.
Oh, amazing. Well, let's break it down a little bit about the work you're doing, the research, the analysis, consulting, training. Where did you want to start?
Well, let's start with the why. And the why is that I really care about people's careers and I care
Aw.
about their lives. And I hate to see them suffer. And in my industry, in tech, I've seen a lot of people suffer. They're stressed, they're burned out. Gardner Group says 65% of employees worldwide are disengaged. And that's not a fun thing. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I love what I do. When I am working, I'm happy, I'm excited. And to have 65 people be disengaged, just sort of plowing through their day, that is so sad. And I believe that it is because we have leaders who aren't really very good at what they do yet. They can become very good at what they do. I've seen people change so so quickly. I'm sort of amazed when I see someone change their approach in the passage of one day, just one day.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see that. But when they're coached and taught, they really can change. So I started the company in order to help improve the careers and the success of people, not only the success of people's careers, but the success of innovations.
Okay.
Like I said, I've gotten to do a couple amazing innovations, and that is so much fun. It is
Wow.
so much fun. And so when you get to do that, you want everybody to be successful. And in order to be successful, they really need to understand the nature of innovation. For example, right now, artificial intelligence is at a sort of early stage, although we've been working on artificial intelligence for decades. But the commercial version of artificial intelligence is just getting started. And the early stage of any innovation is characterized by chaos and fear and hype. And you've seen the hype about artificial intelligence. You've seen the chaos, and you've probably seen the fear. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe how much fear there was about artificial intelligence until I was out speaking and saw that people were really frightened. So anyway, I love innovation. That's the first phase. The second phase is standardization, and that's when everybody kind of agrees on this is the standard we're going to use, and the industry takes off. And there's more stages after that, but those are the really fun stages.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when you have a startup and they're working on an innovation, if they understand the big picture of how innovation works in society and in industry, in the global economy, then they can really improve the likelihood of success, understanding that they won't make stupid mistakes, investing all their money in something that's
tell me some of the mistakes they're making out there, because I was reading there's a lot of articles and tips on your site that you're helping people with, but what are some of the common mistakes that people are making?
In the early stages, people make mistakes of putting all their eggs in one basket and saying, okay, we're going to jump on this and make it big. And what they don't appreciate yet is that until there's a standard of this is how things are going to be done, it's just like an opportunity to waste your money. The only thing you get one thing good out of that, and that is experience. So let me give you a not too distant past example, and that was smartphones. When smartphones first came out, well, we had the BlackBerry.
Yeah, I remember that.
The BlackBerry, and we had. I went to the store once to buy a new phone, and there's this AT&T smartphone, and I'm looking at it. It's got a lot of little tiny buttons, and just sort of like a mini BlackBerry, sort of. And there were all sorts of other varieties of smartphones, none of which were compatible, none of which worked together, all of which had just a few apps that ran on there, incompatible with other kinds of operating systems. And so that was the hype and chaos. That's a really chaos phase of an innovation. There's lots of entrants. Everybody's excited about this. We're going to have our own product. And then the market chooses one of two standards. So we have the Apple standard and the other standard, and so now there's just two standards, and so everybody can just glom onto those products, and they can build their applications to work on both of them, or rather each of them, and they know that that market is going up. And so then the industry as a whole takes off. All the participants in the industry take off. So here's a kind of mistake that people make early in the process, they say, oh, we want to be part of this. And so we come out with our own product and it doesn't work with anybody else's product. And of course it doesn't. It's a new thing. There's no standards yet. And people make mistakes by jumping in too hard before there's a standard. Jump in to get experience. Jump in to get your feet wet. Jump in to get excited about this and know what's going on, and then go to conferences and learn what's going on and learn about the research. And then when a standard is selected, either de facto or de jure. A de jure standard is one like you see an IEEE standard of, this is the way Wi-Fi works. Or you see a standard that's just chosen by the marketplace. That's a de facto standard.
Yeah.
So when that standard is chosen, that's your opportunity. Jump on board then and see how you can play in that playground. So that's just a tip about innovation for startups and entrepreneurs.
Beautiful. All right. There's a lot more tips. There's a lot more I want to find out because your research, your analysis, your training, and just share with me this. You're working with companies, businesses, leaders all over. Is it just the United States? Is it the world?
Oh, no, not just the United States. No, I've worked on every continent. So I travel
God bless
a lot.
you.
Yeah. And I have met interesting, amazing people everywhere I go. And I have friends all over the world now, which is just a wonderful thing to have.
Yeah. Sure is. Oh my goodness. This is exciting. And, hold on. How many years have you been doing this with Competitive Focus?
About 20, a little more than 20. Maybe it's closing in on 25. So,
what are you seeing what's changing? Because our jobs, our careers, everything's are changing so much, right?
Yes, things are changing. And since I do a lot of work in the leadership area, the recent change that's affected that a lot is people working from home.
Yes.
People not in the office. So there's pros and cons. And there's some good ways to solve that problem. There's some bad ways.
What is your suggestions? I love it.
Don't dictate that everybody has to be in a certain place at a certain time unless it's for, a company meeting, an all hands meeting. But don't dictate that people have to have their rear ends in their seat at 8 a.m. each morning. That it doesn't make for happy employees, and it doesn't make for productive employees if they feel like, this is ridiculous. I could have been doing the work I'm doing today from home. And sure, I'm happy to come in for a meeting tomorrow where we're going to discuss a variety of issues that need to be resolved. But don't dictate what they should do. There's ways of solving that. I'll get into that more later.
Ooh,
I want to back up a little bit and talk about distributed computing and some work I did in the 80s about how to make performance better. And I want to give you a quick example, a sort of story to illustrate that. So the idea of distributed computing is that you take one problem and you distribute that problem in parts to different processors. Okay, so say I have a problem of trying to find my ancestors and how am I related to Sepulveda, which is a true thing I'm trying to find. Well, I can look at that. I can break that up from the bottom. I can say, who are Leslie's ancestors? And I can break it up from the top. Who are Sepulveda's descendants?
Ooh.
And find out where those two meet. So I can break that up into lots of different parts. That's very amenable to distributed processing. So early in the 80s, people were working on how can you take a problem and distribute it. We didn't have multiple processors to work with. We had to just figure out how this should work, and then electrical engineers were figuring out how to make multiple processors. So I liken this how to break your problem up. I
Mm-hmm.
liken it to imagine you are working at an a car race. So an F1 race, you're racing race cars around a track, and you have pit stops. And at every pit stop, you need people to do a variety of things. And let's just call that problem resetting the car. Okay. So you
Okay.
reset it. You want to have full gas tank. You want to have new tires. You want to have this and that and the other thing. So how can you break up the problem of a full gas tank? Well, that one really, if you have more than one person filling the gas tank, you've added overhead. Okay, I'm handing
True.
you the hose now, handing
Yeah.
you the hose. That's overhead. That slows it down. So that problem lends itself to having one person equivalent to one processor. But how about the tires? What if you had three people working on changing four tires? Well, that's not optimal
Yeah.
because, three people get done and there's one more tire to do. So one of them has to rush up. But if you break that up into four, you have one person for each tire replacement. That works. That can speed your tire replacement up by a factor of four. If you only
Yeah.
had one person do it, it would take four times as long. Anyway, that's about the problem of distributed processing. How do you effectively break your problem up into parts? So I just wanted to go back to that to just talk about the kind of problems we computer scientists had to think about in the early days. And now everything's running on multiple processors. It's all working fine. But that took a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of years. So anyway, that's the kind of background that informs the way I help people today.
Amazing. I love this. And clearly, you're passionate about the work that you're doing. And I would love to hear some, specific stories about some of the people that you're helping. And, really amazing. And by the way, you also have coworkers as well. It's not just you here,
Yeah, I
right?
have some
You
coworkers.
got other experts here at Associates.
Oh
But
yeah,
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 would you
yeah.
mind sharing a story or two about some of the people you've helped over the years?
Okay, so there was I was doing a year-long program for leadership development, and this program was the it was designed to help leaders in a one company improve their leadership skills. And one of the guys in this program, they were both men and women, and one of the guys in this program was clearly very smart and very well respected by the others. And we got to talking about negotiations. And he's like, oh, back up. I don't want to talk about negotiations. I'm not a used car salesman. And I said, his name is John. I said, John, you don't have to be a used car salesman.
Mm-hmm.
You negotiate every day, whether you know it or not. Here's the kinds of things that a technology person negotiates all the time.
Wow.
Negotiates schedule, negotiates features, negotiates quality. What are the features we're going to put in this? Oh, I think we should have that. I think we should have that. How can we choose among those? Can we have them all? Well, what's the schedule and what's the deadline? Well, if we have them all, then we have to push the deadline out. And how about the quality? Well, if you want to get it by this deadline, we have to cut a little of the testing. Well, that's not good. We don't want to cut the testing. That's a negotiation. And so I taught him that he negotiated all the time, and it wasn't something to be pushed away. It was something to embrace and say, okay, so how's the best way I can do this? And the best way to do it is to look for creative opportunities where your interests and someone else's interests overlap. And so John went from mid-level manager,
Mm-hmm.
and then over time, he's now a VP at another company. But his career took off. He was a great technologist, but he was resistant to some things that leaders do. I'll give you another quick example. I was working with a man who I had worked with for 13 years in a variety of different companies.
Okay.
And he was a serious prima donna. And that is, he thought he was the smartest, and he was really smart. And he thought other people were stupid,
Ah.
and he was rude. And one day he kicked the desk of an administrator, and he just kicked her desk and says, "Where's my whiteboard? I asked you to order me a whiteboard. Where is it?"
Yeah.
And so and other employees would ask him how to solve a technical problem, and he'd explain it. And the next day they might come back and ask, could he re-explain something that they didn't quite get? And he would say, "What, are you stupid? I explained it
Ah.
yesterday." And they would leave crying. I mean, I had crying employees.
Yeah.
So I asked my boss, did he want me to fire him or fix him? He said, "That's up to you." Obviously, I get no help from the boss. And he said, so I said, "Okay, I'm going to fix him." And I worked with him for quite a number of weeks to find out what he wanted, where I could find, this is the creative problem solving. Where could I find what he wanted and what I needed from him and find an overlap? So lots of questions. And to make the story short, finally one day he said, "I want to be the guru to whom others come when they have hard problems." And I'm like, "Okay, well, they're not coming to you now because they're afraid of you."
Yeah, totally, for sure.
I told him, okay. And so I told him he had to improve his interpersonal skills. Long story short, he did. And he went on to be a VP at a Fortune 100 tech company. So it worked. And
Amazing.
I loved helping him. And I think of him all the time.
Amazing, amazing. I love hearing stories like this. Thank you. And if you are just tuning in, we're here with Competitive Focus. That's right. Miss Leslie joining us here live today, talking about all the unique skills she's helping so many people and businesses, of course, achieve and really helping them face some challenge. And I know you mentioned your goal is to really help the firm be more successful in your innovative endeavors. And this is just beautiful work you're doing. How important is, mindset, leadership? I'm sure these are just some of the basic tools, but they go a long way, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, the mindset of the leader needs to be that I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
I need to inspire this team, this talented team that I've hired, that I've chosen. They're talented. I need to inspire them to do great things because I can't do it without their help. And so it's the mindset is that of giving them inspiration instead of giving them orders. And that is a change in mindset that I think really helps leaders to become better. I could go on for a day, but I won't. I know our time's almost up. But I think the mindset has to change from giving orders to providing inspiration.
Amazing. Well, also, we do still have 3 more minutes left, sorry, in
Okay,
the show.
good.
What else do you want to make sure we're covering for today that's important to your listeners and viewers?
Um, you know, I think that the way that leaders managed people during the Industrial Revolution was very top down. And that made sense at the time. If you need 100 people spinning thread at the treadle, then you say, "Okay, I want you to spin 50 spools of red thread." You didn't tell them, "Well, go in and have at it." But today's leadership skills are very different, and it's more bottom up. You engage and enlist your employees to solve problems.
Ooh.
And sorry about my cuckoo clock.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I thought I hear cuckoo clock. I'm looking
That is
around
my
in the
cuckoo clock.
office. Okay, cute. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you engage and enlist them, and you build a trusting culture, and that really allows productivity to take off, morale to increase, turnover to decrease, and it solves the major problem that most leaders want, and that is they want a productive team who's going to produce products or services. And there they have this disengaged team who's looking for new jobs. So building a trusted team is, I think, the key to that. And so I will just end with that, saying that that's what we need trusted teams. And I help people learn how they can do that. And it is with practice. It's not hard. You just have to practice.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And also, before we go, I just want to make sure, leaving off today, do you have any words of advice to people out there? Did you want to share any quotes or anything in particular?
Well, I am a big fan of rock and roll. And so I always use Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions, Keep on Pushing. And that is where I will leave it.
Beautifully said. Well, thank you so much. Pleasure having you here, getting to know you. And how could people contact you?
They can contact me, checking me out on LinkedIn. I'm the only Leslie Martinich there. They can set up an appointment on Calendly. It's listed on my LinkedIn site, or they can email me at leslie@lesliemartinich.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here, getting to know you, and hopefully we will get to connect again.
Thanks so much, Jill. I hope so.
All right. Oh, and do you have any events coming up that you wanted to highlight?
Events coming up. No, I don't have any events that I want to highlight.
No problem. I just saw on the website before, but I forgot what they were. Not a problem. Thank you so much. You have a fantastic day and looking forward to the next time we speak. Bye-bye.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.